I had the conversation with Jason outside of my gym, and I went back into the gym, and my coach was like, "Who you talking to?" That kind of, that kind of, and it's the new manager I was talking to, and he was just like, "You're so Hollywood, you're not listening to anything we're talking about, yada yada. You know what? I'm just done with it." And so he was like, "Whatever, I'm done." And so for the next couple of days, I kept going to that gym or whatever, and I would hear people like call me at the side, Hollywood. I'm just like, to me at the time, I was so angry and frustrated. I was in a position where I just didn't know if there was anybody on my side. And it's weird, growing up in this gym, not growing up, but like, starting my MMA career in this gym, I felt like everyone was on my side. But then I got to see who's not on my side, like people who call me Hollywood. And I know for a fact I'm going to make it to the UFC. That's not a question.
I love it.
Yeah.
A
lot of people have a career. Yeah, I want to make it to the UFC. That's a very, very bland goal. You know what I mean? Be specific.
Yeah.
I want to last in the UFC. I want to be on 5, 6 contracts, 7 contracts in the UFC. I know it's going to happen, And so for me being in that position in my career, like, not position in my career, but like for me in the future to look back and let them hear that name Hollywood, just know they motivated me.
I love it. I love it. I love that you embraced it, you took it and you ran with it. And this is the Prize Fighting Business. I'm your host, Daniel Caycedo, and today my interview guest is professional mixed martial artist and prize fighter, the 1-0 Hollywood Bryan Mitchell. Bryan trains at Factory X Muay Thai, and he's currently preparing for his second professional fight on a very big stage at LFA 79 in Broomfield, Colorado. He'll be facing fellow unbeaten fighter Michael Stack. Bryan sat down with me to have a conversation about his martial arts journey up to this point, how he got extensive experience during his amateur days, and how he plans to hit the ground running in his professional career and make it to the UFC, where he plans to be a star and a champion. Now let's get into my conversation with Bryan Mitchell. Well, Bryan, thank you for joining me.
It's a pleasure to be here with you, Daniel.
It's a pleasure to have you. So you're preparing for a big fight, your second pro fight. You're 1-0 as a pro. Actually, we'll dive into it, but you won a title in your first fight, and now your next fight is for LFA 79, the rescheduled event against Michael Stack. How do you feel going into it?
Honestly, I feel 100%. I feel so amped for this fight, I can't picture this fight not happening for me, Even when the fight didn't happen, I was still looking forward to it.
Good. So. And Michael Stack, he's a good opponent. He's 3-0 up in trials in Fort Collins. You're with Factory X Muay Thai and Mark Montoya. How do you feel like Mark Montoya and Factory X is going to aid in this game or in this fight camp?
I moved 14 hours away within 3 days of me knowing that I want to go to Factory X.
Wow.
Just to go to Factory X. I'm completely prepared for this fight.
Cool.
With these guys.
And I know before this you were talking about how fight camp for you it's technically year-round. You're always ready. But what does this fight camp look like specifically for LFA? How's that going for you, and what's it look like?
Nothing's really changed, Coach Mark's just in the lab right now, being Frankenstein, creating a monster. That's what he's doing with this. And he's creating this family that we have. And really, I just can't see myself being anywhere else.
Cool. So what does day-to-day look like at Factory X?
Day-to-day looks like getting my butt whooped by everybody. So in this gym, I moved here primarily just because there's so many great athletes. And not just that, everyone's hungry.
Yeah.
So you feel that intensity in the cage when you're going with them. Not even just in the cage. When you're drilling, you feel that intensity all the time. I was going to go home with bruises. And so day to day, it just looks like in the morning, I wake up and train. At 10, I get at least 2 workouts, 3 workouts in a day.
Nice.
So.
Cool.
So, yeah.
And you have a wrestling background, so you're kind of used to that grinding style. You were talking about how you started in junior high, which you felt was a little bit later than maybe most people in wrestling specifically. But we were talking about how that's a great base for MMA. And not only did you you didn't stop at wrestling, but you continued to work on boxing in the off season. So kind of tell us about where you feel like you will match up well with Michael Stack in this upcoming fight.
I just feel like anywhere we go in this fight, I know for a fact, anywhere we go in this fight, I'll be comfortable. I've been in the fire in every single position in my career. I've had so many fights, so many different type of fights, not just MMA fights, that whatever happens, I'm ready for it, Yeah. I love to fight, and it's seriously what I was made to do. So.
Cool. And you're joining teammates on the card. Brandon Royval, your teammate, is headlining the card. Yeah, so that's sick. So, do you like that? Do you like fighting with teammates on the card?
I love that. It's that feeling of going into war. with your comrades.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And before almost every practice I see Brandon, I tell him, hey, man, I can't wait to see you fight. You know, you a beast. You're a champion. You got this. And he tells me the same thing. And when we go into the arena to fight that night, I know for a fact it's just going to be a different type of mentality.
Yeah.
You know, we're going together as a team. You know, to show them what Factory X is about.
Cool. So will Brandon, or who's in your corner for the fight?
So it's going to be Coach Mark Montoya, and I'm really hoping that Jordan Tatoni will bless me and be in my corner. You know, I've been doing a lot of mitt work with Jordan Tatoni lately, and I love that guy. So
yeah, and he's a veteran. He's a professional as well.
And his personality matches my personality. We can just really accomplish a lot together outside of Coach Mark, you know.
And he's coming off a war himself at the Fury card last in Denver.
I was there, and I saw that, man. I loved it. I loved it.
He crushed it. Ended up winning that fight.
Bro, I just saw him on the ground, and I was like close, so I didn't get to see really what was going on. I just saw a lot of blood flying out, and I was like, who's bleeding, you know? But Jordan killed that guy.
Cool.
I really love watching it.
So let's see, November 22nd is the fight?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, we're
right before Thanksgiving, thank God.
That's right. So you'll be able to eat afterward.
Yeah, you know, I'm not really too worried about not having Thanksgiving, so.
Yeah. So leading up to that fight, I mean, how much, you're fighting at 145, how much do you weigh right now?
So right now I'm weighing 160. And
about a month out.
Yeah, and that's perfect, you know.
Cool.
I'd say 162 for me is fat.
Okay.
So perfectly, I'm at 145.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And what does the weight cut look like? Like, how long is that process?
The process usually isn't that long. I just shed weight normally. I mean, not normally, but at a rapid speed. Like, sweat just drips off of me. I don't know how I can be walking down the street and then lose 5 pounds. Yeah. Just like that. I don't know how. But weight just really sheds for me, so it's not really that long.
So do you water load the week of, or is it just straight calorie reduction?
Really, I diet down for like 3 weeks.
Okay.
And then the last week, you know, I try to be extreme as I can if I need to be. Usually we want to get 2, 3, 4 pounds.
So you're really close.
I'm really trying to get close. You know?
Cool. Okay.
I haven't dropped down to 145 yet. I've been at 155, and the last guy that I did fight at 1-0 was 6'5".
Okay.
You know, on Tapology, you know how they lie. You know, they told me he was 5'9".
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm 5'8" on Tapology.
Okay.
That's a lie.
How tall are you,
man? 5'7".
Okay.
And a half, you know, something like that.
In the morning, you're 5'8".
Yeah. In the morning, you know. I shrink as the day goes on.
But I mean, I imagine that's what happens at 155. You're getting those taller opponents, lankier opponents.
You know, I really just didn't like that as much. And Michael Stack's still kind of a tall opponent, but his frame is a lot smaller than everybody that I have been fighting. You know? And I'm just really looking forward to this 145 fight. I just know I'll be a lot faster, a lot smoother. And, you know, I feel like I'll be a lot more aware.
And is this where you plan to stay, 145?
I don't know. I might go down to 135 if 145 is way too easy, but we're still going to just camp here at 145 as long as we can.
Nice. Yeah, and figure out the weight cut, figure out how it goes. Nice.
Definitely.
Very nice. So heading into this fight, you're 1-0 as a pro.
Oh, yeah.
And you mentioned before the show also, in your first fight, you got to fight for a championship. How did that come about?
Man, I honestly didn't even know it's for a belt. You know what I mean? What's the promotion that they have in Grand Junction? Is that Golden Fights?
I think it's Golden Fights.
Golden Fights, yeah. Okay, Golden Fights or Cage Wars, whatever it is. Yeah. They really wanted to bring up this guy that I fought, obviously. You know, he brought me in to lose, essentially, you know? And so I went in, I won the belt and everything, but I didn't even know that there was going to be a belt until I got there. You know, I found out too many things when I got there, and I was just so uncomfortable with the whole situation. But I still won, you know? That's what's up. So I won the belt. And I just, after the fight, I sat down with Coach Mark, and I even talked to Jason. I was like, man, perfectly, this is how I want my career to be set up. Yeah. 1-0 with the belt, so that way I can leave as a legend with the belt too. You know what I mean? So I just feel like, I don't know, I'm in a place in my life where everything's working right for me because I have the correct people in my corner. You know what I mean? And so I'm just so
built that team around you. And you mentioned Jason House from Meridian Sports.
Definitely. Jacob Parga, those guys, Lance Spod. Seriously, I love those guys.
And you said that they were a big part of you coming out to Denver from Arkansas.
Yeah. So basically, I trained in Arkansas, Little Rock, Arkansas, specifically for about 3 years. So I've only been fighting now for about 4.5 years. Okay. So, you know, but I've been training there for 3 years. And those guys brought me up. And towards the end of my term there in Little Rock, I was really looking to not just move on, but I wanted to get better. Yeah. I feel like I was in the same position too long, you know? And for me, I just hated that feeling of being comfortable. Yeah. You know? And so I started to want to seek out, like, outside help. And so the coach I was with at the time, you know, he was like, oh, really? You're, like, so Hollywood now, looking for managers, looking to go places different. All you need is right here. And that's kind of look at them like, I don't know about all that. You know, I'm young. I want to experience the world. Yeah. And I started researching, like, management teams. You know, there's people there that there at the gym that were managed by first round management and people like that. And so I checked out Iridium, messaged Jason, and we got on a call. He was like, "Hey man, we can do this. Let's do it. I'm about this family stuff." And I was like, "I don't know if you really are," you know, until like now I know for a fact he texts me every week. He's about that family stuff.
Wow. And
so he sent me 3 gyms, a couple of gyms. Like, "Hey man, I'm gonna send you a couple of gyms. You can go check them out if you want to." And so the first gym he sent me was Factory X. And I was like, "All right, bet." It didn't take me, I was still in Little Rock, and no one knew. It didn't take me like 2 days. I called my parents. I was like, "Hey, I want to go to Colorado. Like, let me go to Colorado."
Cool.
And I haven't had like a vacation in a long time anyway. So they were like, "All right, bet. Here, we can help you out."
Cool,
you know?
cool.
My parents are the biggest support system. So they got me down to Colorado. I trained with Coach Mark Montoya for a week to find out that he's a crazy man. He's a complete
in all the best
ways. Yeah. But every champion in life has that crazy man in their corner.
Absolutely.
And for a fact, I know that I needed him in my life. And so I went back to Little Rock, took 2 days to tell everybody bye or not tell anybody anything, packed up a U-Haul, and moved to Colorado.
Wow, commitment.
2 days.
That's
you know
awesome.
what I mean? Just because of Jason House.
Wow.
So I'm so grateful for them.
And I mean, obviously, you're seeing or you're describing that team kind of build and evolve around you. You know, you got your manager in place. He's helping you find your gym. You find the gym. You feel at home. You find a great coach that you feel like pushes you in all the right areas. And now you're developing around this team of guys that are on the LFA card with you, that are in the UFC. So, I mean, you're building this support network around you that's going to let you achieve your dreams 100%. Or at least chase it.
You know, there's a lot of people out there that, you know, claim to have done everything by themselves. But I cannot be at the end of my career and be like, "Hey, man, all this is self-made."
Yeah.
Because I had help every step of the way, you know?
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what does it look like outside of fight camp? I know you mentioned that it's not too different, but I mean, is diet something you're big on outside of fight camp, or you just eat whatever you want?
I used to just eat whatever I want to before I came to Denver.
Okay.
And I've tried to be more like nutritional aware, you know, because I don't trust pork as much as I used to. I don't trust certain foods as much as I used to. So I'm trying to like dive more into like me cooking a lot more and not going out.
Yeah, it's easy to control.
I mean? Yeah, it's easier to control, and I feel like it tastes better. My taste buds are way better.
You know what you like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I can cook the same meal like 10 times a day and not get bored with it or whatever. It's cheaper. Yeah. So I just been really just trying to focus on making sure I cook the food that I eat, you know. And if I eat out, it's just nothing like too disgusting.
Right.
You know.
And when you start to go into fight camp or the weight cut specifically, that 3-week period, are you scaling back just quantity or like how many calories you're taking in, or
I'm checking out my calories for the most part. You know, what I usually do is before my camp is I eat regularly. You know, I eat regularly and I count the calories in a day.
Cool.
And then whatever the calories are in the day, I take that down 500 and see where I am for that week.
All right.
And then whatever, if I haven't lost enough weight, then I take down so much like calories and then check out where I am the next week.
So you come in like 15 pounds over, like 5 pounds a week essentially, and then you're 2-3 pounds over the day.
Oh, yeah. Nice. So I told you my family was a huge supporter of me. My dad is even my like nutrition coach.
Cool.
Yeah, so he's like very big on CrossFit and he's like actually on this like plant-based diet right now. And he's helping me out with trying not transition to that, but just eating way more clean.
Do you eat animal fat or I mean animal protein, or is it primarily?
I do eat animal protein.
Okay.
I do.
Cool.
I do.
I mean, it's kind of hard to get the protein without it, right?
Yeah.
Enough to stay muscular when you're training.
We'll see what happens after this fight camp. See if I want to go to a plant-based diet.
All right. Cool.
I really enjoyed the food that they made for me when I was back at home, so
yeah.
It wouldn't be that big of a difference.
Nice. So I definitely want to dive into kind of how you got here and your background and training and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
But before we dive into that, so what? I know you mentioned you're training 2-3 times a day. What does that look like? I mean, is it striking?
Oh yeah, so it's always different. So like.
Okay.
I honestly don't want to tell people too much.
That's all right.
You know, yeah. But I feel like it's my information to tell. I just got to Factory X a year ago. Let me stay there, you know. But usually it's in the morning. We do a lot of like Mondays. We do a lot of grappling and mixed grappling, stand-up work, and then we get enough time to rest. But Monday mornings are coach for sure makes sure that we are intense because everyone likes to go in on Mondays and be, sad. He likes to call them energy vampires, But he makes sure we're on it, so we can't run. I mean, you can't walk anywhere. You have to run everywhere.
All right, I like that.
Go into the bathroom, he's like, run.
Okay, so it's like sports.
Yeah,
just hustle up.
Just hustle up, man. And so Monday is really hard, and we get fortunately 3-4 hours to rest before our next practice, 5 o'clock, 5:30, and from there it's more Muay Thai. and more stand-up. We're banging each other for the most part for an hour and a half. So and after that, Tuesdays are our long days. For the most part, we have 3 practices in a day, including our strength conditioning.
Wow.
And so it's a lot. If you would have told me in junior high and high school, hey, man, you're going to be working out for a living, I promise I would not have skipped so many reps. I'd be so big right now, man. I promise. I feel like I would.
Who do you do strength and performance with?
I do with Landau Performance.
Nice.
Eric Tilley, those guys, I love them.
Yeah, you guys have a good relationship with them. It seems like you guys all actually go in together. Is that
we do.
the case?
We
cool.
do, yeah.
And you can push each other in training. Very nice.
Man, we wake up sometimes 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, just go. And then there's guys that want to go at 12 o'clock.
Sure.
But I'd rather get my workout done in the morning so that way I have more time to chill.
Makes you feel good the whole day, too.
Yeah, Hey, man, you got your workout done. You're good.
That's right.
You know
That's
what I mean?
right. Then if
But
you're
then you got 2 more
left.
left, so.
Oh, okay.
So
On
you're ready for
Tuesday,
that.
at least.
Yeah, right.
So how often do you do the strength and performance with them?
Twice a week.
Twice a week. And then training 5 or 6 days a week?
Oh, yeah.
Skills-based training?
Yeah, not just 5-6 times a week. 5-6 days a week. Yeah,
6 days a week. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
But then 2 to 3 times a day in that process.
Definitely.
Cool.
It's perfect the way that Coach Mark sets it up. I feel like this man's a genius. Yeah. Honestly, he's a genius and he has recognition for it. Like, he sets it up perfectly where our body is about to give up Tuesday night, when I was going home to my girl last night and I was like, my body's so dead. I cannot wait for tomorrow, Wednesday's perfect so we can get that rejuvenation back. So we can go back on strength conditioning Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon, whatever time you go, and get back to work. With that same intensity that we brought that Monday morning,
right. So Wednesday's more of a recovery day?
Yeah.
Wednesday is. And what does recovery look like?
Recovery, or if you want to do mitts, you do mitts, shake out, we got to have some mitt work during the week too, of course.
Technique work?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. And is recovery just going home and napping, or?
Recovery, CBD, napping, massages, honestly, I love to spend my Wednesdays with my teammates because outside of the gym, I have no friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, all the friends I need.
That's where all your time is.
Yeah, exactly. All the friends I need are in the gym. They're my teammates. They're my brothers. Who else do I need to hang out with,
Yeah. And you mentioned you use CBD, and I think you recently got a CBD sponsor.
Miss Mary Jane. Jacob Parker connected me with them. I've been trying to message them. No joke. I've been trying to message them for about a year now. Like, hey, let me get some CBD. So finally it happened. I'm so glad for it.
Neat. Benefit of a manager, huh?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Not just a manager, a great manager.
Yeah. Yeah, so when did you pick up your manager? Was it still as an amateur?
Yeah, it was an amateur. It was like after the last fight of my amateur season. Like, hey, man, I know I'm just an amateur, but I want to go with somebody. I believe I got this to bring to the table. And he's like, yeah, I know you got this to bring to the table. Come on, man. And so right after I was an amateur, I signed with Jason House.
Yeah.
And really, we just been working in the lab for about a year straight before we even got a fight. So.
And it's got to be cool doing your homework, figuring out what manager you want to approach. You approach them and they say, absolutely. I mean, that's a vote of confidence right there.
I've had people that it felt like, you ever watch Shark Tales?
Yeah, of course.
You know that part where there's this crab that comes out the trash? He's like, I'm your financial advisor. I feel like I had a couple people like that, that come up to me. And I just didn't want that. I wanted someone professional. I wanted someone that actually cared about me. And me being who I am, my personality, and for God's sake, my nickname is Hollywood. I want people to be focused on who I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want some attention.
Yeah.
And so he gives me that attention that I need. And I'm not saying, like, at all that, I feed off everybody else's attention, but it helps me out.
Of course.
And he gives me that attention I need. He knows
it's that
exactly
positive
what
energy.
I want. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, these guys are perfect for what I want,
Yeah.
And I'm a good fit for them, too.
Yeah.
So it works out.
Yeah. So Bryan Hollywood Mitchell.
Hollywood Bryan Mitchell.
Hollywood Bryan Mitchell.
Oh, yeah. Say that one more time.
Hollywood Bryan Mitchell.
Yes, sir.
How'd you get that nickname?
So at first, I was Kid Dynamite.
Okay.
Because I went into this gym and I boxed like Mike Tyson, and I have to pick a boost style and not even know it, And so it was Kid Dynamite. And I did tell you towards the end of my career, these guys were like, oh, Hollywood,
right.
And so I started talking to Jason secretly, and then I finally told the coach I was with, hey, I'm talking to this manager. And he was like, you're retarded. Like, you're mental. Sorry. He's like, you're so mental. I'm telling you, man. You don't need anything else. And I kept talking to him. And I had the conversation with Jason outside of my gym, and I went back into the gym, and my coach was like, who you talking to? That kind of, that kind of. And it's the new manager I was talking to, and he was just like, you're so Hollywood, you're not listening to anything we're talking about, yada, yada, you know what, I'm just done with it. And so he was like, whatever, I'm done. And so for the next couple of days, I kept going to that gym or whatever, and I would hear people like call me outside, Hollywood. Hollywood. You know, I'm just like, to me at the time, I was so angry and frustrated. I was in a position where I just didn't know if there was anybody on my side. And it's weird, you know, growing up in this gym, not growing up, but like, you know, starting my MMA career in this gym, I felt like everyone was on my side. But then I got to see who's not on my side, like people who call me Hollywood. And I know for a fact I'm going to make it to the UFC. That's not a question.
I love it.
You know?
Yeah.
A lot of people have a career, I want to make it to the UFC. That's a very, very bland goal. You know what I mean? Be specific.
Yeah.
I want to last in the UFC. I want to be on 5, 6 contracts, 7 contracts in the UFC. I know it's going to happen, you know? And so for me being in that position in my career, like, not position in my career, but like for me in the future to look back and let them hear that name Hollywood, just know they motivated me.
I love it.
You know?
I love it. I love that you embraced it, you took it and you ran with it. And I mean, not only that, but the confidence to say, hey, I know I'm making the right decision here, regardless of the people around me saying that might not be the right decision. Maybe it's more the people around me as opposed to my decision making that's wrong here. So you move forward, you say, hey, I'm doing it. I'm going with this manager. I'll embrace this nickname that you've 100%. Given me.
And if you hear Hollywood in the future, just know it's because of you.
That's what's up. I love it.
You know?
I love it. So how do you feel like your game's evolved since coming to Factory X?
Oh, man, I would kill the old Bryan. It's crazy because I came to Colorado thinking that I know everything. You know, I had a good boxing game and all that. I thought I was all right at kicking. But the first month was hell. You know, I couldn't win a round. Yeah. You know, but Coach Mark, he actually spent some time with me on some Mondays. You know, we had some mid-work. He was like, hey, man, there's some small stuff you need to work on. Yeah. For this month, you need to work on that. For this week, you need to work on that. Work on this. You know what I mean? So I think I've been here for about a year and 2 months now. And I just can't see myself fighting like the old Bryan. Yeah. And I know for a fact if I go back and fight the old Bryan, he wouldn't last 1 minute. Yeah. You know? Yeah. I haven't had any fights posted on YouTube since, I don't know, my 8th fight of my amateur career. Mm-hmm. And I look back in that guy, I'm like, wow, this dude really fights like that.
Oh,
like,
I know the feeling.
What the heck? You know what I mean? You ever see yourself training like when you first start? And you're like, oh my God. It's just like so cringe, man. It's just so cringe, you know? But now I feel like a pro.
Cool.
Not just that.
You are a pro.
Yeah, I am a pro. Yeah. You know, I've been fighting for about 4 years, you know, about to be 5. And I'm way better than I should be. Sure. I'll say that. I'm way better than I should be.
Well, you're putting the time in. I mean, 2 to 3 times a day is more training than a lot of people do.
Man. Yeah. I used to sleep in the gym for a year straight.
Well, that's how you progress, right? Just putting in the hours, and that's something that a lot of people 4 to 5 years in aren't necessarily doing those 2 or 3 practices a day. Maybe they're still doing 1 practice a day, taking time off in between fights. It takes that commitment to, go pro and be in a position you're in right now.
100%, man.
Cool. So, like you said, 4 to 5 years you've been training, went pro. You took your first pro fight at Factory X, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so how long were you training at Factory X prior to that first fight?
So I was training at Factory X for about, let's just say 9 months. Okay. And so I was really amped up as soon as I got to Factory X. Like, hey, man, let me get a fight. You know, I felt like, I forgot that Dave Chappelle character. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Let me get a fight, bro. Yeah. You know, but Mark held the reins. He's like, hey, man, you're not ready. And I was like, what are you talking about, bro? I'm ready. You see me, dog? Like, all these muscles? Like, I'm ready, you know? But I wasn't ready. Sure. You know? And so I waited 9 months. And they told me, hey, man, we think you're ready. Let's get this fight. And honestly, I felt like ages better since being here for 9 months and taking that time just to fight. You know, if I would have went in immediately, I would have got my butt whooped. Sure. If I fought the same guy that I fought, like the 6'5" guy, in June, if I fought him before June and November, then I would have got my butt whooped. You know what I mean?
That's got to be confidence building in and of itself. The fact that you feel like you're progressing, you feel like you're getting so much better when perhaps you were, stalling out at your last gym.
Yeah, definitely. I was stalling out and I was really working too much. You know, I was like not working like MMA working, but I actually worked there as a front desk manager. Yeah. And custodial manager. Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to balance it all.
Yeah, and I would train in the mornings and that's it. And not be able to train at night because I'd have to worry about clients coming in and signing them up on Zen Planner and all that stuff, you know. And it was just too much for me.
More on your mind.
Yeah, way more on my mind than I should have.
Yeah. And it's a sign of a good coach that they're able to hold you back and say, look, I know you're confident, I know you're itching for this, but let's just wait a little bit longer. Let's just develop a little bit further. And then once we feel good about everything, we'll let you run. That's great.
Part of me felt like he was saying I sucked.
I mean, yeah. It knocked the confidence a little bit, but.
Yeah, you know. And my confidence is where it needs to be 100%. Like, I'm way more confident in myself than I was before I came here. But at the same time, being at Factory X is really, it's just like, it shows you what the real world is like, and who you're going to be fighting is, honestly, it's just raw. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
and
it
you're
opens
seeing
your
the
eyes
whole
up.
level.
Like, you don't have to have this ego when you can come to the cage and just fight because you love to fight. Fight
Yeah.
because you know you're supposed to fight. You know what I mean?
Right.
Don't fight because you're trying to show yourself that you're tough.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
And so you went pro debut, 1-0. You had the belt shot in that initial fight. But leading into it, I mean, you had significant experience. You spoke to it before the show that if people just look at your amateur record, it's not truly telling. You were 9-2 as an amateur, which is solid. And still more fights than some people take. You know, some people just take 4 fights and go pro. But you also were doing other things like taking boxing, smoker bouts. So kind of tell me about that. How you developed as an amateur.
I have more boxing matches, boxing tournaments, kickboxing matches, BJJ matches than I. Let's not even count BJJ matches.
Sure.
I have more of those tournaments than I do all my MMA fights.
Wow.
It's because I felt like I needed it. You know, I wasn't ready at the time, like, to turn pro, you know? And when you're an amateur, you should take the time to get your butt whooped in everything that you can. You know what I mean? You know, I went to boxing, and I thought I could actually just kickbox these guys. Like, I will stand up and box them like I kickbox these guys. You know what I mean? But I can't. You know, I changed up my game for that. And because I changed up my game for boxing, you know, my MMA game shot way up higher.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
And so I used to throw my jabs basic like this, you know, and now I can actually throw them like a boxer, you know what I mean? It just makes my game so much better.
And more adaptable.
More adaptable. Not even just that, like ring control.
Yes.
I felt more ring awareness, you know. It's just, I needed that.
And sometimes, I mean, that is a big thing in MMA you don't see some people having, as in they're chasing around the guy, trying to strike with them if the other guy's not willing to engage, instead of cutting off the ring like you learn in boxing or kickboxing or Muay Thai.
100%, man. I'm so, like, ring aware, it's not even funny, you know what I mean? When I'm in the ring, all I think about is ring control. Being in the center of the ring. If I'm not in the center of the ring, circling out, getting in the center of the ring, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just want that center of the ring because I felt like it looks like I have more control. And I learned that through boxing. You know, I learned a lot of things through boxing.
Yeah.
So.
Defending yourself, I'm sure, is a big one.
Oh, yeah. You know, man, there's this guy named Jermaine Taylor. He fought, you know, a lot of the guys that had WB.
Is he the one that got shot?
Yeah. He's the one that's been doing the shooting, too.
You
know, he's pretty crazy.
I know of him, but he's very good. Very high-level pro. Yeah.
I'm surprised you know all these guys. I feel like I can name anybody, you know.
I'm a huge fan.
Okay. I like that. So, Jermaine Taylor, the crazy guy with the shooting and the gun. Yeah. But, yeah, he came into our gym after all the shooting and stuff. And I got to actually boxing sparring. Yeah. This guy broke my nose with a jab.
I'll believe it.
You know, and I know for a fact, going into anything else, no MMA fighter is going to break my nose with it. As far as I know, nobody's going to break my nose with a jab.
The same technique, that cleaner technique, that power. Yeah,
exactly. You know, his jab's like somebody's too.
Yeah,
and I'm not going to feel that with anybody else. And so that's what, you know, the amateurs need to know for a fact is that, man, take your time. You know, 6-0 amateur, 7-0 amateur, whatever. I don't care, man. Take your time and do everything. Yeah, to make sure when you hit the pro level, you don't have any doubts. I don't have any doubts about where I'm gonna go, who I'm gonna fight. You know what I mean? They can set me up with anybody for the most part. And I'm ready to fight them. Yeah. You know.
And you mentioned the jiu-jitsu tournaments, maybe not the same as a fight, but it still does get you that experience of going and training or competing in front of people, getting hyped live for the competition. Yeah, live. The energy difference, the strength, and how much explosiveness people are using.
Yeah. You know, it's just like one thing that probably kills a lot of fighters is the waiting before a fight.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And the nerves and all that. Right. And everybody has them. I don't care who you are, who you're fighting. You know, you could be fighting Joe Dirt, doesn't fight like at all. You know, it's just like you can be fighting nobody, and you're still gonna feel those nerves. And because I did so many of those boxing tournaments and grappling tournaments and all that, you have those nerves at those small events, not as much, but you still get to work on them still. You know. Yeah.
So do you feel like the nerves go down each fight, or you think it's always the same and you just get better at handling it?
Exactly. They don't go down. I mean, it's a fight. You know what it's just an MMA fight. Right. You don't know what's gonna happen. You know, so nerves are still there, and I just want to perform to the best of my ability. So I feel like I just handle it way better now.
Yeah. Good.
You know.
And your first pro fight, I mean, that opens up a new rule set for you, too. Yeah. I mean, elbows and knees, so it's a whole nother dynamic there. Is that something that you train as far as elbows and knees and working that into the game?
We work a lot of elbows and knees with Coach Mark, and he does a great job at, you know, implementing those into our MMA game. Yeah. And so I can work them perfectly with my boxing. It's to elbows, it's to takedown, to getting back up, to elbow, to takedown. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I wasn't as confident in my elbows and knees. Sure. before training with him. But now, like, I feel amazing with him.
Cool.
You know, I feel like I'd be a Muay Thai fighter, but not really.
Yeah.
You know,
Would you
I
do
wouldn't
it?
go fight Senchai or but, yeah.
But I mean, you see the people at the highest level that are integrating that well are doing the best. I mean, Colby Covington, you might have a grinding grappling style, but he's throwing elbows in the clinch against the cage.
It makes the world of difference, you know.
Oh yeah,
and it doesn't take a lot.
Yeah, even Nate Diaz threw an elbow in his last fight against Pettis.
That's crazy too.
Insane. And Factory X, I think, does a good job of blending that in general. I mean, everybody that's come in here that's trains with you guys talks about how that's a main part of practice, how you're blending it all together.
Yeah. One thing that I had trouble with is working my takedown off my boxing. Or my boxing definitely did make my takedowns a lot better, my wrestling a lot better. But I just didn't know how to blend everything to make it look one.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I would either just wrestle, or I'd either just box, or either just kick.
Yep.
You know? But now I'm kicking not kicking, but kicking the boxing to takedown, to back up, whatever, the elbow, to Muay Thai clinch, to fake a takedown, back to boxing. You know what I mean? It's just
constant work.
Yeah, constant work. You know? And I used to be obsessed with chain wrestling. Yeah. And I was just like chain fighting. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I really enjoy it.
Yeah, chain wrestling. I mean, again, the things you're talking about are the differences a lot of times between amateur and pro. Amateurs, a lot of times you'll see a grappler heavy, and then maybe they're on the feet and they're striking, but it's a struggle for them to put it all together. Factory X, I mean, again, does a great job of that, whether it's Ian Heinisch or anybody. I mean, you name it, Brandon Royval, they're all blending it together really well, and then that's what is making people succeed at the highest level, whether it's Diaz or Covington or whoever. So.
I love to watch these guys work. Sometimes I won't train with some of these guys. Like Ian Heinisch, I'll look at him like, bro, you got a partner? It's not me. You know? Sometimes I won't train with them, you know? But they're amazing to watch because I could, you know, they talk about how bad they were at first and then see where they are today and how they look today. It's like, man, I want to get to that spot in my career where I feel 10 times better, where I'm actually blending stuff, where I don't have any questions about who I am as a fighter, where I'm not really thinking, I'm just reacting.
Right.
You know?
I mean, that's ideal for you, just reacting in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, boxing really helped out a lot for me as far as my slips and dips and defense and reaction, you know, seeing stuff, because even in sparring, they wouldn't throw anything lightly.
Yeah.
You know, so you'd have to see it. You know, they wouldn't drill and throw a slow jab at you, actually try to hit you in the nose. You know what I mean?
Right.
So help my reaction time. And so I got to see a lot more. And I feel like things slowed down a little bit for me that night.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And so are you guys sparring at Factory X specifically? Are you sparring with little gloves or are they big gloves generally?
I never got to spar with small gloves until I got to Factory X. And they're not really small gloves. We call them puffies because they had the protection of like the, 10-ounce, 12-ounce boxing gloves, but
so
they're
like
smaller.
the 6-ounce gloves where they're puffy on the knuckles, but they're MMA?
Definitely.
Okay.
And so they, save our teammates' faces for sure. With the small gloves, you can tap somebody in the face and you'll still feel the knuckle.
Oh yeah.
But with these gloves, you can't really.
Neat.
And so we work out with the MMA gloves, man. On Friday nights, we spar at 5 o'clock until 7, just like a regular night. So sparring this Friday night, not this Friday, November 22nd, that Friday night at that time, it's gonna be no different for me.
Yeah, that's right. So I mean, do you like that idea of like training when you would fight? You see some UFC guys do that. Others just train normal throughout the day, but at least the ones that do it at night speak to the advantage that they feel that they have because they're used to their body kind of performing at that time of day. If it's 10 o'clock at night sometimes.
I hear what you're saying, and it's like a science too. If you're like used to training at that night, then when you go into a fight that night, then you're gonna feel normal. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like this something I heard, like, hey, if you're chewing gum before a test, if you're chewing a mint gum before a test, studying a test or whatever, then chew mint gum while you're taking a test.
I like
what I mean? Stuff like that. And Coach Mark's doing perfectly with that. And not just that, we're not just sparring. We go into the jam that day knowing we're gonna have a cage round that we're responsible for with one person. Of course, we're gonna spar the whole day with other people, but one cage round, 2 cage rounds that we're responsible for.
Cool.
That we gotta go into, and it's weird because it makes Friday seem like a regular fight day.
Mm-hmm.
Every day. Every single Friday. You know what I mean?
So you get the jitters for it and
everything. You get the
everything.
jitters. You're like, oh, man, who am I fighting? Who am I fighting? And then when you get there, you find out who you're fighting, and you're still like, oh, man, what is he going to do? What is he going to do?
So you don't even know until that night.
You don't know until that night. Ooh. And you go in there, but you're going to get into a fight. And he doesn't want to lose.
And that's pretty hard sparring. I mean, it's just
hard
like a
sparring
fight.
because you're going to try to win. You know?
Yeah.
Coach announces at the end who won. And I definitely don't want to be one of that guy like, Bryan got submitted by rear naked choke 15 times. I don't want that to happen.
So if you lose, you keep going? Whole round or two?
Oh, yeah, we just keep going.
Cool.
For sure.
Cool. So what if it's like 1-1 at the end? Do you have another round?
Nah, just shake hands and out of there, man.
Cool. So hard sparring Friday night, make it as much of a fight night as possible.
Oh, yeah.
Do you do any other sparring throughout the week, or is it skills based and then Friday's sparring?
Man, I would say we do a lot of flow sparring throughout the week.
Cool.
A lot of flow sparring.
So lighter.
Perfect. Yeah, a lot lighter.
Yes.
You know, we would still like to have fun though.
And go through the movements,
Yeah.
make it more realistic than just hitting pads.
Oh yeah, I'm a major shit talker, and so I love the flow sparring because it gives me more breath to talk a lot of smack. You know.
I love it. Cool. So, I mean, are you doing pad work? Like, are you getting one-on-one time with someone holding pads for you? Or is it
Yeah,
more
the
partner?
past coach implemented this in July. He's like, hey man, you guys should definitely be getting mitt work in because you know every MMA fighter has to have it, and you know it makes you more sharp.
Yeah.
You know, so at least get 2 sessions in a week. Pay our guys, yada yada. You know, let's get some mitt sessions in. And
So you're finding someone on your team that you like their
not someone on our
style?
team, but the coaches that coach
Gotcha.
implemented. There's a lot of good coaches there, you know, and it's cool the way that Coach Moore set it up because it's his coaches and we know him, you know. It's not just some outside guy where we like. For me, I have a problem with authority, you know, and I have a problem with like people that are older than me trying to tell me what to do. You know, I have short man syndrome too.
Sure.
You know, so
I'm with
all
you.
these in one.
Young
you
people
know?
are smart, man.
No,
we got
but,
the
like,
internet and stuff.
Right. Like, I don't need your help, bro. Like,
I could Google it.
Google, yeah. But like Coach Jordan Totoni,
Yeah.
he is a coach. But at first when I got there, I was like, hey, this guy's a fighter. He's a good fighter.
Right.
But now I look at him as a coach. I don't just look at him like I respect the guy, and I cannot wait to get more working with him.
And Mark used to fight too, right?
Yeah, Mark definitely.
Yeah.
I wish I was a liar telling me he was fighting. To see him right now, I just feel like he should have been a UFC legend.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Because he would take out most of anybody in our team.
Cool.
For the most part, so.
And you find that you have a good flow with Jordan holding pads for you?
Oh yeah, definitely. And we kind of have the same style where I like to wrestle, love to wrestle, but he helps me, you know, work my striking into the wrestling too. So
Cool.
And he has a lot of knowledge to give.
Yeah.
You know, not just wrestling at all. You know, just stand up for me, angles. You know, he has a lot to offer.
Yeah.
And so I can't wait to dive into that book of Jordan Totoni right there. Seriously.
And I mean, you mentioned like your experience. You've only been doing this 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
You have 11 amateur fights, 1 pro fight, going on your second fight, but then all these other fights as well. Just whether it's smoker bouts or kickboxing bouts. I mean, how often are you fighting? How do you balance kind of all these fights? And
for the past year since I've been at Factory X, I've just only been focused on MMA.
Okay.
You know, nothing else, just MMA. You know, that's all I want to work on.
Do you plan to keep that approach as a professional instead of like taking a kickboxing bout here
I
and there?
would love to box in the future somewhere, you know, if the money's right. You know, because money is a lot better for boxing. You know, it doesn't matter where you are, it's just a lot better.
Of course.
You know? And so I would love to box a couple times. I would love to be that guy like Conor McGregor fighting Floyd Mayweather, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, we'll see what happens. But for the most part, I'm just trying to focus on it, man.
Yeah. Cool. So then take me back. So you wrestled in junior high. Was that your first ever kind of mixed martial arts or martial arts?
Yeah, it was
experience?
it was different for me because in the South, it's just football.
Yeah.
You know, it's football and basketball. My school was like the top 20 in the nation for basketball. And so I tried out for basketball and not make it. You know, I quit basketball in 7th grade because they named me trash can. I couldn't. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Very rude.
It's very rude. Even the coach was calling me trash can. And it's not because I can get bored. It's because I was garbage.
Oh, all right. That's
so.
They're just straight up telling you.
I mean, it's whatever. I wasn't really built for football. I was good for football in 7th through 9th grade. But then once you got to high school, you got to go with everybody, you know, in your whole city. And it wasn't really my sport either, you know?
Yeah.
So I found wrestling. And I was like, holy crap. First day I went into wrestling, I went against this guy that was 160 pounds. For me, that was big, you know, because I was 7th grade, 7th, 8th grade, whatever it is. And I went in there, and I slammed him. I was like, holy crap, this guy's way bigger than me, and I can slam him. I love this sport, you know? And the first match that I ever got into, it was in 9th grade with the varsity team, and I was just really watching him, you know, just watching him wrestle, whatever. And this guy, they had a 170-pounder, and we didn't have a 170-pounder, and I got bigger at this time. And so I was looking at the guy or whatever. I was just like, oh, man, sad he doesn't have to wrestle anybody, but whatever. And the coach was like, Mitchell, throw a singlet at me. I caught it. He was like, put that on. And that was like the best night. It changed my life.
Wow, cool.
So.
And you were saying before the show that it was kind of a newer program. They had just been doing it for 4 or 5 years or so at that time.
Arkansas at the time only had, you know, wrestling for 5 years, you know, and it was completely new. to me, completely new to the state. We had a coach that taught us moves from a YouTube video.
Really cool.
Really, until we got a coach that was from the north and everything.
So you learn a move and then you guys just start drilling it.
Yeah, the first year I grappled, and then after that we'd actually have a real wrestling coach.
Cool. From the Northeast, you said?
Oh yeah, he's from Michigan.
Okay, yeah, so definitely big on wrestling in Michigan.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Nice. So do you feel like that created a good base for MMA, or do you feel like it's separate? I mean, how do you feel like wrestling? It
created a drive for my MMA. Definitely, I do have that base of wrestling without even knowing it, but I knew for a fact I wanted to be in combat sports after that. I didn't know what. I don't want to be that guy doing karate, doing the kata and all that stuff, but I know I wanted to be in combat sports, And so it just created an insight. Hey, man, this is what you're going to be doing for your life.
Yeah, I mean, even though you're not punching people in the face, wrestling creates that put your forehead in their chest type grind and out-will this other person. And that's a huge part of fighting. A lot of people, especially in the professional level of MMA, everybody can strike, everybody can grapple for the most part, but it's really that will, that desire to win. And
exactly why I love the sport of wrestling. Yes. Because at the time, you don't know this, but I'm adopted by white people. And I say white people because they're very fortunate, as opposed to how I lived before.
Sure.
And, they got to support me all the way through this wrestling and stuff. And they saw the drive hey, man, you're really good at this because you're fighting for something. Everybody's fought as a kid. They're fighting MMA. Everybody's had that life. Hey, man, I've fought growing up, had this tough life, yada, yada, yada. But, what's your reason?
Right.
And in wrestling, I found my reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I found I want to change my life with this. I want to change my family's life with this. I don't know how. With wrestling, I don't know how at all, but I'm going to do it.
Cool.
And so
did that carry all the way through high school as far as wrestling?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Definitely. My first year of wrestling in ninth grade, first year of wrestling varsity for ninth grade, I got 5th place.
Wow.
Second year, I got 6th place in state. Third year, I won state. And the 4th year, I placed 3rd.
That's a strong wrestling background. I mean, we were talking about the idea of just wrestling in general is a good base for MMA. But, I mean, you're wrestling at a high level. You're competing at a high level.
That's what I'm saying, man. I feel 100% I'm made for combat sports. God put me on this earth, to fight.
Yeah, cool. So what happens when you graduate high school? I mean, you had this pretty good career in high school. You theoretically could go try to compete in college.
Yeah, honestly, I was set up to be in college. I could have done the college thing. My parents could have paid for my college and all that. I could have, honestly, been a doctor or something. Sure. You know what I mean? But I chose to fight. That's the dumbest thing that anyone could do. But for me, it's not about money, and it's just 100% about what's going to make me passionate through my life. You know what I mean?
And reach that potential.
Exactly. So after high school, I went to this Christian church college, basically, called Link Year. And I went there for about 3 months the first semester, and I realized, hey, man, it's not for me. I ended up getting expelled because I smoked weed on the campus,
And they expel you for that?
Yeah, it's real. You can't have a girlfriend. You can't smoke weed. You can't do all that.
That's very real.
It's very real, And so I went there, and so I didn't even want to go anyway. So when I found out I was expelled, part of me was like, heck yeah. But the other part was like, damn, my parents got to find out about this. So my parents found out, hey, man, you got to find something to do because you can't just not do nothing, So I found fighting.
That's good, though. I mean, that's a good perspective for them to have. Instead of, ridiculing you and saying, what the hell are you doing? You're fucking up. They said, let's reorient yourself and keep working forward. I like that.
I found fighting, and not just found fighting. I kept fighting after that because I had one fight, leading up to training in the summer of 2015, leading up to college.
So you knew you liked fighting.
Yeah, I knew.
During wrestling, you had this idea.
Exactly. And then I went off of fighting for a couple months in September after that whole summer just to focus on college, and I wasn't focused. The only thing I was focused on was fighting, and I wasn't near that at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so after that, I went, after I got expelled and everything, I went and spent I think it was 2016. Yeah, 2016. I spent a whole year, actually, 6 months living with this guy named Mike Wessel, who kind of became my mentor. He's a crazy old man called the Juggernaut or whatever. And he's actually one I went to my first MMA class with,
A critical time to have a mentor, too.
Yeah, It's me and my brothers found MMA at the same time. I have a white brother. Nice. Right now he's a lawyer.
Oh, cool.
I know, it's so cool. So, because when I get in trouble in the future, he's going to help me out. But, we started at the same time, and we kept going for a couple months, and then eventually my mom was like, okay, we're going to sit you guys down and talk a little bit. Well, you can't fight MMA anymore. We got to save your brain cells, and Bryan, you go for it. And I was like, yeah. wait a second. What are you trying to say? And it was the best. It was a perfect decision. At the time, little me was insulted, but I was excited. And it was just perfect for my brother's doing amazing in the way he's a lawyer now.
Yeah.
And he's going to be a lawyer and all that good stuff. And my mom perfectly knew what he needed, and she perfectly knew what I needed too.
Well, you come off as educated. You're very well spoken. You're thoughtful with your responses.
Which is weird because I wasn't always this way.
Sure.
I wasn't always this way. I used to wear Coogee every day. It's like a off. It's not like a, I don't know how to call it, like a knockoff brand of Gucci.
Yeah. Cool. So you're 18, 19 years old. You decide that MMA is what you're going to pursue. You have the support, again, your support network. I mean, your family.
You don't understand the type of support I have. If I can't tell you, but just know, as a 1-0 pro, I know for a fact I've got the best support system that I could have.
That's awesome.
The only way I mess this up if I miss them. If only way that I can't go to the top is because if I mess it up. You know what I mean?
And that's got to be confidence building.
It is confidence building, but it's terrifying too.
Sure.
It's nerve-wracking because it's it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
It's like, hey man, you got everything set up. All you gotta do is do this.
Yeah.
Seems simple, you know what I mean? But I make it so hard sometimes,
Sure.
And so the support system helps me out.
Yeah. Sometimes when there's no obstacles in the way, you have to create them.
Yeah. Growing up, I never thought I would be in this position in my life. I never thought I'd get doubted by white people and all that. I thought I would always see dirt roads and, people walking outside without shoes on and stuff. It's just I expected a different outcome, and then I don't have too many obstacles on my road. I just have this clear path. Hey, man, just go for it.
Yeah.
And I'm going. I haven't stopped.
And that's how you pay it back.
Yeah.
Just
how I pay back
hard.
is, exactly. Working hard and getting to that spot to where, they can see, okay, Bryan, you actually made this a career. We didn't think you could. We knew you could do it, but we didn't know how long it's gonna take.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and you're doing it. I mean, you want to know as a pro. It's a professional pursuit you're taking here, and so 9-2 as an amateur with all these smoker bouts. You take your first fight kind of while you're in college. Take some time off. Figure out that this is the pursuit you're gonna take. So what are you doing when you decide, hey, this is what I'm doing?
What do you mean? I'm sorry.
So, are you, did you go find a gym? How did you decide this is the approach I'm taking, and what was the approach?
How the approach I was taking, man, it was wild because I hit rock bottom after I got expelled,
Yeah, I'm sure it's a tough place to be.
It is a tough place to be. My parents, they were like, hey, man, you got to find something to do. But honestly, they were pushing me, too. They were like, hey, man, find something to do right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. And so I found Mike Wessel, and I was like, I can't stay with my parents. I'm 19 years old, and I was like, I'm a grown man. I can't stay with my parents anymore. And so I started staying with Mike Wessel, and I cut off, I had a huge friend group at the time in the same city I grew up in, basically, and I was in a position where I was doing nothing but drugs and sleeping on friends' couches, girls, all that stuff, and I wasn't focused, and I just knew I wanted to fight. I was one of those guys, tough guy of the whole group, you know what I mean? And I didn't want to be that anymore. I wanted to be Bryan Mitchell, MMA Fighter, you know what I mean?
I love it.
And so I cut off, it was weird, cut off everybody that I could. Everybody, my best friends, people that I thought I was going to grow up with, cut them off because I wanted to fight. And that's why I figured out, hey, man, this is serious.
That's awesome. I mean, it's necessary too, though. I mean, the guys that are successful, the people that even come in here that have been successful, it seems to be a recurring theme of I dove in and immersed myself and completely committed, and that's the only reason I was even able to be successful up to this point.
Yeah, right, man. If I still had those people on my back that I didn't cut off then I wouldn't be here talking to you 100%. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So me cutting those guys off was kind of symbolic to me, it being like, hey, man, you're a new person.
Yep.
You don't even know who you are at this moment. Find yourself, and then you'll be the best fighter you can be.
That's great. And again, I mean, you're just moving forward with this. Maybe confidence isn't the best word for it, but this faith almost in that you're doing the right thing, that you know what's best for you, and you're going to take that step forward, even though it is hard. It's hard. It's got to be tough to cut people off, especially people that you've grown up with, like you said. But you have this greater feeling that it's what's necessary.
It's not at all as tough for me as you think it is. I've had to cut off multiple people in my life. There has been moments in my life where I've had blood that weren't your family.
Yes.
It's the same thing. Friends that really aren't there for you. In life, you got to chase what's yours. If you feel like you're the UFC champion, go get it, man. Go get it. I don't care what obstacle is in front of you. Go get it, man. Don't let anybody stop you. I don't care if they're your family or not,
That's great. So you moved in with this Mike Wessel, you said about 6 months or so?
Yeah, for about 6 months. And then he was like, hey, man, you're real good. I can't teach you anything else. You know,
Wow,
not just
cool.
that. He was like, man, he's a heavyweight. So he's like, I can't teach you anything that these guys can teach you.
Yeah.
You know, he was a heavyweight. He was teaching me heavyweight
that's
stuff.
Great.
Yeah. And so he was like, man, you gotta go. And it took me like, it's weird because every place that I moved, I haven't moved and taken time. You know, I've always had to be rushed out somewhere or rushed somewhere. You know what I mean? And so I was rushed within like a weekend, not even a week, to go move to Little Rock, Arkansas, to fight with these guys.
Because it's the biggest city in Arkansas.
Yeah, it's the biggest city in Arkansas, and not just Arkansas. People like really loved going to that gym. Like, you know, people from Louisiana would come all the way up to West Side, because it's the capital of Little Rock, capital of Arkansas, and they were trained there. People from someplace in Texas would come to the West Side, and people that, you know, would grapple with Rolly Delgado. Rolly Delgado is actually, you know, world-renowned, I would say world-renowned BJJ guy, because his leg locks are amazing. He's known for leg locks. He's trained with guys like Danielson Pimenta, 4- or 5-time world champions, you know, and guys like that. And so people always come to the gym and train. I was like, wow, I'm 2 hours away from this place. How am I not here, too? You know what I mean? So I went there for a couple years, and really they just like, they saw who I was, and they didn't change anything about me. They just like molded me into the man I was. You know what I mean? And so I wouldn't take any of that back. Yeah. Not even the last month where it was kind of iffy.
Sure.
You know?
Well, it's part of the experience. It's part of your evolution. And then you reached a certain point where you felt like you couldn't evolve as fast or as much as you'd like to in that same spot. I think that's normal. You know?
Yeah, seriously. I know you had a moment in your life where you're like, man, I just feel comfortable.
Of course.
I need to get out of this.
Yeah. And, you know, it's hard. It's hard leaving the people that have helped you get to that point. But if you notice that, you know, if you realize you need to move on to grow more, it's just something that you have to do as an individual.
Oh, definitely.
So how many fights did you have while you were in Arkansas? I guess your whole amateur career.
Yeah,
really.
my whole amateur career. You know,
and
the fights that you see on
solid.
Tapology, those MMA fights, and a lot more of like, you know, boxing tournaments, boxing smokers, boxing matches, you know, single matches, you know.
How often are you competing?
I would compete like almost every other weekend.
Wow.
Every weekend, every other weekend, something. You know what I mean? For about 2 years straight.
Nice.
Like every other weekend. And
So
I got
kind of like
fortunate.
an MMA college.
Yeah, that really was an MMA college. When I first got to Little Rock, I lived in the gym. Yeah. In the closet. Honest to God, the size of this, probably smaller.
It's not that big in here.
With a futon. Yeah, I know. Like, I'm not that big of a guy either. I didn't have to like have a lot of leg stretching. Like, I lived in a closet in the gym for seriously a year and some months. Yeah. You know, because I loved it, and I had my dog with me. Cool. You know, and it's just like, it was a perfect place.
Got
company, and I hung out with a lot of 40-year-olds, because a lot of the BJJ guys that were there were a lot of like black belts and stuff. Like at night, you would have 6 to 7 black belts. Wow. And that's crazy. Yeah. It's just the black belts, you know, just the West Side in Little Rock, Arkansas, and you would never think, you know what I mean? But you know, what that created for me is like, it made me into more of an adult than I could have been. You know, I've always ran with the crowd, you know, growing up. Sure. And then after I cut everybody off, I was finally by myself, and I got to see who I want to hang out with, and I just really wanted to associate myself more with the people that have, you know, more experience in life. And so Westside gave that to me. You know, there really weren't a lot of fighters. There were a lot of BJJ guys, but there really weren't a lot of fighters. Yeah. There really wasn't a lot of young people like me. So
yeah, I was wondering about that structure. I mean, is this like a fight gym, or is it more like a martial arts gym where people fight?
It is. It's a BJJ gym with kickboxing and fighters. Cool. I would 100% say that. It's a BJJ gym. Yeah. You know.
That's kind of where I started. It was like a kickboxing gym that had Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and fighters.
Yeah. So everyone starts out of those places.
Yeah.
I'm just glad I got to start at that place opposed to in my garage.
Right. You get the early coach, early mentor, like you were saying, early team. You see how some people are approaching a fighting career. Yeah. And you know, there's more. There's probably a better approach to this than I'm seeing right here.
Yeah, seriously. You know, we had probably 5 to 10 MMA fighters, and there were only a handful of us. Unlike Factory X, where there's 50 of us that are killers. There were only a handful of us that were trying to be sharks. Yeah. You know?
And at that moment, are you thinking like, oh, I should be doing more, I should have a different training?
At that moment, I was just like, man, this is the best training I've had. Yeah. You know, because it was the best training I've had. Right. You know, until I came to Factory X, and I knew that's what I needed, you know?
Yeah. So what is your mentality when you're in that kind of 2-year span, taking all these fights? Is it just get as much experience as possible, or I just love fighting, I'm going to fight? What do you
it's just like go. You know what I mean? It's like, man, you got the time right now. I'm not thinking about the present. I'm thinking about the future. And it's weird because I feel like to a certain point, you can be too much worried about the future to where you forget about the present and not have as much fun, you know? And so I was thinking too much about the future, and I was just like, man, just go. take these boxing smokers, do these boxing matches, get hurt a little bit, do your thing, like, just go. So in the future, any fight that, like, I was telling myself at, like, every single boxing match, because I was like, why am I here? Like, I don't need to do this. I'm not a boxer. You know what I mean? I'm not a grappler. I'm not a kickboxer. Why am I here? But I'll tell myself, man, you need this.
That's awesome.
In the future, like, every fight, when I'm professional, and when I had those, after those, I did so many boxing tournaments, even when I was an amateur, I would look back and be like, on fight day, and be like, hey, man, like, are you ready for this? I'm like, fuck yeah, you ready for this, man? You did so much. You get prepared for this. Nobody else is more ready than you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I had to do that,
Were you thinking UFC at that time, or you're just thinking on to the next?
I started my MMA career thinking UFC.
Beautiful.
I just feel it's hard to be a fighter if you're not thinking, like, big. If you don't have huge goals. You don't have to be in the UFC to have your, like, huge goals or anything. You can be one FC, whatever, PFL, have those goals. Have a goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Immediately, I knew for a fact I want to be in the UFC. I don't just want to be in the UFC. I want to be a superstar in the UFC.
Yeah.
And what's going to make me different than those 100 fighters that are in my weight class, And 100%, I just feel like it's my personality and who I am and what I bring to the table.
Yeah, that and the team you build around you, like you were saying. I mean, and so just to kind of reiterate what your team looks like, you have your family at home. I mean, they seem to be a huge part of it.
My family, my team, if you can create a pyramid, my family's right here. And they're just sitting down, like, in chairs, like, looking above everybody, making sure everybody's supporting me still. Like,
cool.
I love them to death, and I would not be in this position in my life. I promise I would not be in this position in my life without them,
Yeah.
And so.
And then they've enabled you to build the rest of your team. You have Coach Mark Montoya, Jordan Detoni, Jason House.
Whenever
at
I
Iridium.
talked to Coach Mark, got my parents on the phone. Whenever I talked to Jason House, got my parents on the phone.
Cool.
And so I just love how everybody's, like, in my circle is connected.
And Landau Performance, same idea. I mean, they're integrating into your training. I've had people in the past talk about how if you guys have a hard day in training, then they might not push you as hard at Landau, but they're working with your schedule. They're kind of building it around your focus, which is fighting and performing on fight night. It's
perfect, Everything's set up, and I just honestly feel like God has it set up for me, and God's a plan for me, whatever happens.
What were you doing for strength and performance before coming to Colorado? And
I had some strength training. It was good. This guy another guy named that was calling me Hollywood at the time. He had an amazing strength program. He thought that he knew it all, whatever. Sure. So I went there. It's called Raw Strength and Speed down in Little Rock, Arkansas, and it's all right. It's a cool place, but it's nowhere near Landau Performance.
Yeah. What is the primary difference you find between Landau?
Primary difference is Sean of Ross Fitness was focused on, like, football, lifting, and powerlifting and all that. And I'm not a huge power lifter. Sure. I don't want to power lift nothing,
Yeah.
But Landau Performance is ultimately based on, like, I don't know, improving motion, improving, like, small stuff that are going to help you out, like speed, or, it just it's more, I don't know how to say that. Do you know the word?
Like functional
training.
Yeah.
It's more functional training than it is powerlifting.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate it a lot more. I can jump higher, I can run faster. I feel like I can take off in a split second way faster than I could than being at a powerlifting place.
Yeah.
So
that's your ability to move in space.
Yeah, I don't feel like a box anymore.
Yeah. Powerlifting, I mean, it's cool. It makes you feel strong, but I don't know. I felt like I was always getting hurt. My traps were always getting pulled in wrestling or whatever.
Back or something, with the squats and all that. So
cool.
I really do appreciate the type of training that Landau Performance. That's perfect for my body. Like, as you can see, my bro.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're ripped. Big too.
Appreciate you. I was waiting for you to say it.
For your size, I mean, 145, you're a built guy, and no doubt about it. I mean, powerful, like you're saying, that Mike Tyson style, power hooks. You clearly have the ability to implement that style mixed with the wrestling. I mean, you've got the right build for that style that you're implementing.
Yeah. Now, seriously, though, people look at me like, you're a smaller Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mini Mike,
Absolutely.
So.
Cool. But
I just want to let you know, by the way, I'm loving this conversation.
Okay, I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you. So 1-0 going into this fight with Michael Stack, LFA, November 22nd. I mean, obviously, you're not looking past this, but is this something that you want to keep doing, like fighting for LFA, or you just take opportunity as they come? What does that look like?
100% want to keep fighting for LFA, and I know for a fact I can have that LFA belt.
Cool.
I see myself within 5-6 fights, having being ready for a UFC fight or being in a UFC fight, and I just know for a fact LFA is gonna set me up perfectly for that.
Yeah,
coming for that belt.
That's right.
So,
and LFA is a great feeder promotion for the UFC. They're constantly sending their champions to the UFC, even guys that aren't champs, to the UFC. But before the show, we were talking about there are other options now. I mean,
there are
one championship,
one's coming
PFL,
over to America, and all
Bellator.
that.
I mean, there's a lot. So. Obviously, the UFC and being champion and like you said, being a star in the UFC is the ultimate goal. Do you take an opportunity if it comes up in one or PFL, or is it eyes on the prize and that's UFC?
I feel like my eyes are on the prize. You know what I mean? If ONE FC comes and they want me, hopefully they will want me, or Bellator will want me, hopefully they'll want me. I'll definitely go with them. Like,
opportunity.
Yeah, I'll take the opportunity. But like, if I'm in a contract with somebody and UFC calls, hey man, I'm gonna do everything I can to get out this contract because I know I want to be in the UFC.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so a lot of people say it doesn't matter, but it does matter, a little bit. So I definitely want to be in the UFC.
Yeah, I mean, one is very good, but you are seeing like the UFC guys are still doing very well. Ben Askren comes over from one.
Tell me 3-4 champions in ONE FC. That's the normal person that. And
I'm a big fan. I would struggle with it.
You would know.
I mean,
so
yeah, it's true. I mean, it's interesting, and I'd say those belts kind of switch hands almost every other 2 fights for a lot of them.
Yeah, I know Michael Chandler. No, he's Bellator. See?
Yeah, Michael Chandler.
I'm tripping.
Maybe Edward Foley Long. I know he was fighting Eddie Alvarez. I don't know.
Exactly. I don't know. It's just like, but it doesn't matter who you are. You know who Conor McGregor is. You know who Khabib is.
Yes.
You can be playing basketball. Someone says Khabib, and be like, oh yeah, Nurmagomedov. You know what I mean? You know who George St.
And you want to be a star, so that's the platform for it.
I definitely want to be a star because it's gonna open up more things for my after my fighting career. We have fighting for a limited time, and I know I have so much more to offer to whatever the fight business is or whatever I can do than just fighting.
That's great. I mean, you're already thinking about that. Not necessarily half in, half out, but you're thinking my ticket is excelling right now.
100%. My ticket is going to be the UFC, and after that, it's going to be, I don't know, I just feel like I'll have a lot of options after UFC. So that's why I want to be in the UFC,
Cool.
So you're completely right on that.
Well, you're on track.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. So,
right place too.
So if you can think back to when you were beginning out in your career, maybe some good advice you got or good advice to give someone that's starting out, what would it be? Good advice
to give someone that's starting out.
A tip?
Like we were talking about the whole time, man, just take your time.
Yeah.
I don't care where you are in your life or where you are in your MMA career. If you're 6 fights, 7 fights, and you haven't lost yet, find that loss. You know what I mean? Yeah. Search for that loss. And if you don't get that loss, whatever, turn pro. But search for that loss.
That adversity.
Search for that, exactly. Search for that adversity, It doesn't have to be just MMA. It's boxing.
Yeah.
Check out kickboxing. Check out Muay Thai. Find out your game and get better at all of those individually so that your game can be, 10 times out of 10. We're in this, like I told you, we're in this spot in MMA, where you just can't go in like a Chuck Liddell.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just go in swinging. You just can't go in like, like Damian Maia, but you can't just go in doing BJJ.
Damian Maia's striking game has evolved quite a bit. He looks better on the feet than Askren.
Don't give that to me. Askren, come on, bro.
But I agree.
You don't want to see Damian Maia with Jorge Masvidal again.
No, that'd be rough.
Yeah. But you can't just be a one-dimensional fighter.
Yeah.
And you can't just have, fight experience in one thing. I just feel like we as fighters are evolving. And within this next 5 years, people like Israel Adesanya, people are going to start changing the game 100% to where you have to be around it just to be in the UFC.
Well, and I think you're doing, an incredible job. You set this awesome foundation in a relatively short amount of time, 4 to 5 years. Being a professional, you've already set this foundation of having multiple boxing fights, multiple kickboxing fights, jiu-jitsu, wrestling experience. All that competition experience. You've had to have over 100 wrestling matches, along with 11 MMA bouts, however many kickboxing, boxing. That's a strong foundation, a lot more than a lot of people relatively in your same position probably have done. So incredible experience and foundation to go run now. Now you have the opportunity, the runway to go as a pro and just get it done.
It's perfect the way you said it because that's exactly how I feel. I took my time being in that roller coaster, and I'm still gonna be in a roller coaster in my life. You know, but I just feel like it's gonna be a lot more straightforward. Because I know exactly who I am as a person. Like before I turned professional, I just want to make sure I know who Bryan Mitchell is.
I love it.
You know, 'cause if I go into the fight not knowing who I am, I know I won't know if I win. You know what I mean? But I know who I am, so I know for a fact I am gonna win.
Yeah.
So.
No, it sounds like you're in a great spot.
100%, man.
So good luck November 22nd.
Oh yeah.
And
you gonna be there?
Yeah, I'll be there for sure.
Okay.
LFA.
Let's talk after.
Absolutely. I'll take it from you. So how can people follow you online?
They can follow me on Instagram, HollywoodMMA_KO, or Facebook, Bryan Mitchell. I have a Facebook page as well, and that's really it.
Cool. So go follow him, support him, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Prize Fighting Business, and follow us on Instagram. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, man.
Thank you very much.